and the machines are sighing, half in horror, half in joy, at what their master is about to do. Be brave, he whispers to himself as he creeps slowly towards the cupboard door. Yes, it's dreadful, but it's for the best. Yes, it's cruel, but it'll make us rich. It'll make us famous. Then nobody will be able to shut us down. Nobody will ever be able to take nothing from us ever again. Do it, Ernie, do it. Do it for the future. Do it for the family. Do it for poor, poor little Stan. He opens the door. A shaft of moonlight shines in upon the sleeping boy and falls across the bucket. There they are, the beautiful, tender, golden ones. By now, Ernie is deep inside his own vision. There's no resistance left. He grins as he reaches down into the water. As he catches the fish, one by one, he puts them into the plan. He catches 12. They lie, gasping and writhing and squirming in the pan. The 13th dodges and dives in the water, flicking free of Ernie's fingers again and again. He clicks his tongue and grunts. Keep still, you pesky. The boy stirs in his sleep. Ernie crouches, still as a statue, hardly breathing. There are 12 fish, sucking the air in frantic agony and silence. The boy sleeps on. Ernie slithers backwards, crawls out the door. Come with me, my lovely ones, he whispers. He hurries to his machines. This won't hurt a bit. He presses buttons, flicks levers, switches. He grins, he clenches his fist. He leaps with joy as the machines come back to vivid life and began to do his work. Chapter 10. It's daylight when Stan wakes. There's no alarm, no hooter, no wakey-wakey. He rubs his eyes. Am I late? Then he looks down into his deserted bucket. The single fish rises from its depths, and as its mouth goes, oh, 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 Stan hears its voice somewhere in his brain. My companions, weeps the fish. Your companions, answers Stan. Where are they? The fish swims sideways, turns away its face. They are taken. Taken? What do you mean taken? Taken? By who? But there is no answer. The fish swims down to the bottom of the bucket in grief and silence. There's a cry from outside, a cry of dreadful joy, of triumph. Yes, yes, yes! Oh no, cries Annie. Yes, cries Ernie. Stan stands up, opens his door. His uncle turns to him. Here it is, he cries. Our new line. And he holds up the little tin with the great golden writing on it. Pot's gorgeous, glittering goldfish. Chapter 11. What would you do? Jump for joy that your uncle was so clever. Go for him with your feet and fists. Say, I forgive you, Uncle Ernie. I know that your actions, though sadly misguided, arise from the best intentions. Would you beat the earth in anguish? Would you scream in pain? Would you howl with rage? Would you stamp, hiss, snarl, spit? Stan? He did none of these things. The horror of the tin transfixed him. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. Ernie cradled the tin in his hands and murmured about a golden future. Stan's eyes glazed over at his uncle, talked of shop shelves stacked with gourmet goldfish, tinned by earnest Pops. He talked of diners nibbling Pot's gorgeous, glittering goldfish at the Ritz. Annie went over to her nephew. She tried to hold him to her breast, but he couldn't move. He was a statue. His heart beat to the rhythm of the tragic words of the 13th fish. My companions, oh, my lost companions. Then Stan blinked, coughed, reached down and lifted his bucket. I think I'll go for a walk, Auntie Anne. So, Auntie Annie, he said. A walk? Yes, a walk. Ernie smiled. Good idea, lad, he said. Stretch your legs, clear your head, get a breath of fresh air. He winked at Annie. See, he'll get over it, won't you, lad? Ernie stepped aside as Stan brushed past him. He reached out to tussle Stan's hair. Stan turned his face to him. I'd rather you didn't do that, he said quietly. He opened the front door. Stan, called Annie. Stan. I'll be fine, said Stan. See, said Ernie. Give the lad some time on his own. That's what he needs. Then he had an idea. Hey, Stan, go back to the fair. Get some more of those little beauties. 2 tons or so should do it. Ha, 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 ha. Tinned goldfish. They'll knock sardines off the shelves. They'll topple tuna. They'll annihilate the anchovies. Tinned bloomin' goldfish. I'm a total wonder. I'm a fishy genius. Fame and fortune's just around the corner. Ha ha ha. Stan turned, took one last look at his uncle and aunt and walked away. Chapter 12. Annie stood at the door and called Stan's name as he walked off down the road. Should she pursue her dejected nephew, or should she turn back and try to calm her husband? She teetered on the doorstep. Other eyes watched Stan. Those of Clarence P. Clapp, Esquire. The daft van was half hidden in an alleyway at the end of the street. Clarence P. pressed a beady eye to his telescope. He pointed it at Stan, then pointed it at the open door of 69 Fish Key Lane. Disgracious, he muttered. Absolutely appalling. He leaned back. It is indeed just as I thunk, lads. For this time, Clarence P. was not alone. He had the daft squad with him, squeezed into the van. 4 burly blokes dressed in black, with shaved skulls and thick necks and massive hands. Their names were Doug, Alf, Fred and Ted. Take a look, lad, said Clarence, and the daft squad jostled to get at the telescope. What do you thunk of that, then? He asked them. Doug said it was disgusting. Alf said it was appalling. Fred said it was flippin' terrible, boss. Ted shook his head. He took a deep breath. Boss, he said, I sees now that you is right in all you has telled us. The world these days is going to rack and ruin. It will be an honour to teach them people a lesson and hoy 'em into the street and smash their faces in. Well said, Ted, said Clarence P. His grand fishiness of fishy things will be proud of you. Now, lads, get warmed up. And the blokes started to touch their toes, swing their arms, jog on the spot, and the van shook and jerked and squeaked. Distracted by the strange commotion, Stan paused as he passed by. Clarence P. focused the telescope right on his face. Quick, lads, this is one of them. Take a butcher's at the face of evil. The lads looked. They grunted and groaned in disgust. Fred retched. That is the horriblest thing I ever saw, boss, he said. Well said, Fred, said Ted. I'll take him easy, said Alf. Can I kick his teeth out, boss? No, Alf, said Clarence P. He is just a minnow. We has bigger fish to fry. Let him go. And Stan looked down at his bucket and walked on. Clarence P. opened his briefcase. He took out a piece of paper headed Daft Eviction Notice. He rubbed his hands. Right, lads, he said. Heads up, chests out, back straight, out we get. And the lads of the Daft Squad muscled their way out onto the pavement. Stan walked on in the morning light. He walked past the Shipwrights' Arms and the Salvation Army hostel and the Oxfam shop. The river glistened below him, and far off was the bright blue sea. As he approached the waste ground, he saw that the fair was being dismantled. The great Ferris wheel lay in sections in the back of a large track. The horses from the merry-go-round were piled up in a trailer. There was no sign of any hot dog stalls or candy floss stalls or Gypsy Rose's ancient caravan. Stan walked among it all. Men swung sledgehammers and ropes and tarpaulins. There were yells and curses and the drone of engines. Watch your head, young'un, came one cry. Keep clear, you daft little brat. Stan ducked and dodged and walked. He didn't know why he was here, what he hoped to do or find. He was aimless, still stunned. The earth shuddered beneath his feet. You come back then, came a voice. Dostoevsky, of course, suddenly walking alongside him. Couldn't stay away then? Stan said nothing. He walked closer. His arm knocked against Stan's shoulder. He pointed down at the bucket. Where's the rest, eh? Stan couldn't answer. Tears came to his eyes. A voice inside him said, get away from here, go home. Another said, keep walking, walk to the ends of the earth, Stan. You come to do some work? Asked Dostoevsky. Are you leaving? Said Stan. Indeed we are. Stalls took down, ducks is packed, caravans hooked up. Where would you go? Here and there, near and far, all the way across the world. And maybe, he paused and smiled, have you come away with us, young Stan? No, said Stan. But even as he said it, he was wondering if he meant yes. I've got some nice new fish, said Dostoevsky. Lovely, bright and shiny ones. He leaned closer. Natasha would be pleased to see you. She don't say much, but I seen it in her eye. My guess is she's quite taken with you, lad. Stan said, can't find the page. Nothing. Straight ahead was a Land Rover with a caravan attached to it. Ducks were piled up at the caravan windows. Natasha peered out through the window of the Land Rover. Stan had a sudden vision of himself sitting behind her, driving away from machines and tins of fish, moving free across the world. Know what I think? Said Dostoevsky. I think you're a lad that's been cooped up far too long. I think you're a lad ready for an adventure. Am I right or am I wrong? And we're going to stop it there because time has got away with us.